Welcome, brothers, sisters, and extended soul family, to another reading inspired by a full moon. So, the most recent full moon after filming this, or before filming this, I suppose, was the pink full moon. And the pink full moon, coming in early spring traditionally, has a lot of significance and representations related to growth, new beginnings, things that are associated with the plant life that seems to come alive around the time of year that we receive the pink full moon. So, this reading is asking about what new beginning or beginnings, we'll see when we get to the piles, what new beginning is starting for you during this time. So, for those of you who are watching the reading close to when it's released, it'll be set with the intentions of a new beginning starting during this half lunar cycle to halfway through lunar cycle, so full moon to full moon. But this is a timeless reading, so if you find this video at a later date, just know that the intentions are set to pick up on energies of a new beginning that's starting for you within the next 2 weeks or less. So it's a general reading, which means I have 3 piles and you get to pick, and we'll just see what happens. So you could be drawn to one pile, multiple piles, maybe all the piles. And just know that because it's a general reading and it's not specifically tuned to just you, there may be bits of information that don't resonate. So take what resonates and leave the rest. You might find that only certain sections of certain piles are right for you, and you'll know. So just trust your intuition, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't resonate with you, it's basically just entertainment. So I have 3 piles for you to pick from for this reading. And I'll start by introducing the significator cards that I have up. And then I'll introduce some crystals if you like picking that way, and a unique tarot card deck for each of the piles if you'd rather pick that way as well. So for pile number 1, we have the zebra. For pile number 2, we have the shark. And for pile number 3, we have the frog. All right. With those in mind, I've picked a different crystal for each pile. So for pile number 1, I have this flower agate crescent moon. And I really love the patterning on this one, especially towards the bottom here, all the flowering. So that's for pile number 1. So pile number 1 has the flower agate crescent moon. Pile number 2 has this white howlite stone tumble. Classic, but a good classic. And pile number 3 has the significator crystal of a moss agate crescent moon. So there you go. Put it here. If you want to pause the video to pick this way, feel free. I'm going to introduce the tarot cards real quick. So for pile number 1, we have the Wandering Spirit Tarot. For pile number 2, we have the Pink Gothic Tarot. And for pile number 3, we have the New Chapter Tarot. So if you'd like to pick with tarot cards, those are the backs of them. And I will see you in the reading. Welcome, pile number 1, to your reading. So, you chose this pile based on the zebra significator card, the flower agate crescent moon, which I guess we'll put there, or the wandering spirit tarot. Then this is your pile. So, thank you for being here and choosing me or allowing me to do this reading for you. So we'll start with putting your zebra card here. You got another animal card. You got another animal card. This one is the rabbit. We'll figure out how that makes sense in a second here. I want to flip over a couple more cards for you before we dive into any details. So your next significator card is the bell. We also have gratitude again, which I think we'll put on this side. And your last card is the lower world with the number 31. So one thing I'm getting is with the rabbit card, I'm getting images of how rabbits like run quite quickly. And there's something about like running in circles, kind of like you've been going through some cycles or like some loops. So with the gratitude again card, the again part makes it feel like there's an energy of, oh, I've been here and I've done this before. So with the intention of this reading being like, what new beginning or beginnings are you starting? I think this is an interesting energy to have. And with all of these latticed together circles up here, I'm kind of getting like a similar energy of going through something over and over. Or the perception that you've been going through the same thing like again and again. And I think with the lower world card here, this oracle card signifies a little bit some of the energies of like being in a very low place so that you can kind of like rise out of it. And I feel like for some of you, you might kind of feel like in some way you're stuck in a rut, or like if not physically, then like spiritually, you're kind of in a rut. Like you can't seem to shake a certain energy or like get out of a certain wavelength, or when you think you've left something behind, whether that be like a specific type of person, like a toxic atmosphere or environment, or like a certain detrimental way of thinking, or like kicking a habit you don't like, it feels like it has a funny way of coming back again. And I'm hearing that like that's obviously not something you want right now, and it's leading to a little bit of frustration, or a lot, depending on how long this has been going on. And like, that's okay. Because I think with starting a new beginning, some of what's happening is you're sort of finally putting this thing down or putting it to rest. And with the bell here, I know bells can signify like a lot of things, but I'm kind of getting it used in the sense of centuries ago when there were rampant sicknesses, especially like, the Black Plague and things, people would like ring a bell like that and say, bring out your dead. And I feel like this is kind of signifying that, like, for the last time, you're going to finally put down whatever you feel like you've been looping through for the final time. Like, it's going to have a final resting place. The last big thing I'm seeing with the significator cards before we get into the tarot cards is what's been, I don't want to say holding you back, but what the energy that's been driving you to loop in some frustrating way that you would like to move past. Like, you keep going back to old habits or finding yourself in similar situations, like same shit, different day, same problems, different people, or a frustration with yourself of you find yourself reverting back to old ways or thinking in an old way of thinking that doesn't serve you, and you recognize it and you try to fix it, but it kind of appears, crops up again. Is there's with these two cards here, the lower world talks about kind of deep-seated things that are within us but like hidden from us, and the rabbit signifies like a very hyperactive mentality that is driven by fear. And so there's some kind of energy within you that I think once you recognize it will be easy to overcome, like dislodge and permanently let it go. But because you haven't found like that like root of all roots of the problem, over time it like grows back. It's kind of like dandelions, if any of you have had to deal with them. They have these roots that are really tangled and really long. They go into the earth quite deep, but the roots snap super easily. So when you try to weed out dandelions, it's easy to pull up the part that we see above the ground and a little bit of the roots. And so when you weed them and you rip them all out, there will be a moment in time where everything looks and feels better because this weed isn't around. But because that deep root network broke off, it takes a little bit of time, but those roots eventually begin to form new sprouts and those make it to the surface, and then you have to repeat the cycle. That's kind of what this feels like, where you've been very patient and you've been doing things to raise like your vibrations or put you in like a positive path forward, like practice gratitude and all that kind of stuff. And then somewhere along the way, fear or doubt or some other negative thought pattern brings about those weeds again, however they physically manifest for you. And so maybe you are in a position where you break up with somebody because they're very controlling. As an example, not saying this is you, it's a general reading. But let's say you break up with someone who was very controlling because you've said, I've had enough, I deserve better, and you move on because you value yourself and you understand that there are people out there who appreciate you for the amazing, lovable, valuable person that you are. And time goes on, and maybe you're afraid of being alone, or maybe it took a while to find somebody else and you start to get worried that you made a mistake, or like you're not as desirable as you thought, you're not as lovable as you might have thought, which, like, okay, all of that's false. If you were thinking that way, it's false. You're very lovable, you're very valuable for being the you that you're meant to be, your authentic self, if you will. But because this fear sets in and you start to not see yourself the way you did when you broke up, when you hit your breaking point before, you're, I don't want to say you lowered your standards, but maybe you did, or maybe you just try to see like the best in people and somehow like compromise with yourself or blind yourself because you really just want to find somebody else. And so you get into a similar cycle where you get in a relationship with someone hastily, and it turns out like they're also in some way unappreciative of you or very controlling again, and then you're kind of in this similar cycle. That's sort of the energy I'm picking up on here. Is like you have moments where you make a big breakthrough, which is sort of what the zebra card represents. Zebras, at least for this oracle deck, they have the energy of being young at heart, being very enjoyable to be around. They're very passionate and they love exploring and experiencing what the world has to offer. So they're not naive, but they love to bring about positivity in the world and share it with others, and in doing so also experience that for themselves. And so they're kind of in this energy of they raise themselves up by doing what they love and pursuing their passions, and in doing so they raise up others around them. So like it's very healthy, very empowering, very like loving, beautiful energy. And so there are moments where you're in that zebra energy and you think you put whatever it was to rest, and then you, a little bit later, on the other half of the cycle, those fears kind of come up again. And it's because at like a surface level, you may have addressed them, but there's something deeper that's like fueling these fears and allowing them to sprout, like the deeper dandelion root. And I think your new beginning is all about, instead of just pulling out the weeds that you see on the surface, this is about actually excavating and ridding yourself of the root system that's nourishing those weeds that you find are bringing about undesirable situations. And this could be a lot of things. And because this is a general reading, it's going to be different for all of you out there, probably. So I can't give you exact details, but I can give you some general, some general trends with this energy. And because I do these readings with the intention that it'll help when you find it, I hope this helps. And I think that what you're doing here is really beautiful because it's finally going to put that thing to rest permanently. There will be nothing else to nourish these weeds to keep cropping up again. So for example, if you're afraid that life is passing you by and you're not going to get married and establish like a family soon enough, if that's something you're interested in, just to go back to that example so that I can give you some energies that are hopefully like, if not yours, just relatable. So you get the vibe here. Those moments of doubt, of hastiness to jump into a new relationship and maybe overlook some red flags or not be able to see them because you're preoccupied just worrying about timelines. instead of eventually saying, okay, this was a bad choice, I'm going to break up with them, and then the cycle repeats, you would do that part, but you would take a deeper step so the cycle doesn't repeat after you uh, break up with whoever isn't good for you, isn't what you wanted. And instead you would dive deeper and you would address the beliefs that have been told to you, or the thought processes that you've been maybe like adopting or conditioned throughout your life by others around you, to where that fear isn't fueled anymore. There's nothing to actually have it keep coming back. So if that fear was seated in like familial expectations, um, or that you're only really valuable or desirable as a human being if somebody else does want to be in a relationship with you, those are ideas that you're in a position now to let go of. And so, at least for this example, you would, break up with whoever isn't very good for you. And instead of that fear cropping up later, you would say, um, like, instead of being hasty and going back to, oh, but like time's moving too fast and I want like to be married and have a family before I'm too old and this and that. Instead, you would say, like, it's okay. Like, I'm valuable regardless of if I'm in a relationship or not, and I can provide myself the love that I'm looking for in other people. And when other people give it to me, it's nice, and we all like to be loved, but I can also give that to myself, and that is good enough to have me not desperately seek it out, but take my time. And I trust that if I really want a family, like, I'm going to be in the energy for that to happen. And I'm not going to hastily try to start a family with somebody that maybe isn't going to make the perfect family that I want. And like, maybe you realize like you don't need somebody else to start a family, in the same ways that you thought. Like, maybe for you, family is good enough if it's a really close group of friends, or you're more connected to like other people in your family, um, like nieces and nephews if you really want to be like a parent, or you adopt or something. So like you have a different way of thinking, and you understand that like you can fulfill your needs that you're trying to find from other people, and that puts you in an energy that allows other healthy things that you've been looking for to come to you, through external forces in a better way on your own time when you're ready to receive it. I hope that makes sense. um, so I think what I'll do now is I will pull out some tarot cards, and we'll just take a look at some more information about what kind of energies you'll be in when you're making that transition to starting the new energy, and we'll see what happens. So, there's one card. Do you have any advice to give pile number 1 about starting this new beginning? Maybe not. It could be a pretty concise answer, who knows? Okay, we got 2 other cards. So we'll take them. I'm tempted to look at the bottom of the deck. We have... Hello. Yeah, we have the Three of Cups on the bottom. Okay, here's your card spread. I censored a couple with crystals, so I won't like pick them up to show you, just in case YouTube guideline gets a little fussy about some titties. But we have the Three of Cups, which is on the back of the deck, and we have the Eight of Cups, and we have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. And then your other two cards here is the King of Wands in reverse, the Three of Wands, and then under the Three of Wands we actually have the Ten of Cups. So with that, so I'm channeling a message here where ultimately things are gonna be okay. I think that some of you are worried about if this cycle's ever gonna actually like end for you and you'll get out of it, not be in this rut anymore, and the answer is yes. Ultimately, you're finally ready to leave this behind because you're ready to do the deeper work with the lower world card here, where you're gonna get rid of that like deeper root so that nothing is nourished to grow from it again. Like these fears will no longer be nourished, so they'll just stop popping up. And this channeled message is basically saying like things are going to be okay because you're going to collaborate with like the deeper parts of yourself. And I'm betting for a lot of you out there, you have some kind of internal dialogue or voice that for a lot of you has been ignored. But if you follow it, converse with it, commune with it, argue with it, whatever response is appropriate, you'll kind of understand like where these fears are coming from and like what beliefs or ideals that you may have been holding on to consciously or subconsciously that you're just going to recognize as no longer serving you and you're ready to let go of them. And that's where the Three of Wands come in, is with this like collaboration. Threes are a lot about like teamwork, but there's like this collaboration of the mind over the mind. That's where the wands come in here. And I think that that collaboration being over the Ten of Cups is like leading you to the Ten of Cups energy, which is the completion of your cycle, like that finality of you're done with this for good. But the Ten of Cups is a very celebratory card of like pure emotional fulfillment. It's calm, it's gracious, it's bliss. All of this frustration, strife, struggle, fear, anxiety are just not even going to be left behind. They're just not going to exist in this place within you anymore because there's nothing to keep them going. And I think that with the Knight of Wands in reverse over the Rabbit card here, this is another reiteration of the fact that there are fears, but like they're not properly placed and you don't need to harbor them anymore. And with the King of Wands, I'm getting the energy of like you are like the ultimate master of your own mind. Like you pick your ideals, you choose what beliefs to hold near and dear and live by, subscribe to. And right now, the beliefs that are causing these issues, these fears to be nourished, are beliefs that ultimately you don't actually agree with. They've just been adopted by you because over, for many of you, like long periods of time, potentially when you were like younger or your mind was absorbing more things around you as it was learning how to navigate the world, it just picked up a lot of harmful ways of thinking that aren't actually yours. You just saw them in all these influential figures around you and you embodied them. And now you're just ready to let them go. And sometimes that's how things happen, you know? Like we're taught and raised by other human beings, and like all of us to different extents, like do have flaws, including the ways that we think and perceive the world around us. And when we trust certain people with raising us, teaching us, nurturing us, we trust that like their ideals are correct. And later we learn that they're just people too and they have flaws. And so some of their ideals are things that we choose not to carry with us anymore. So I think there's this calm energy that comes with understanding that, and like being patient with yourself in understanding that like you weren't stupid or dumb or taken advantage of or swindled for having these ideas, but this signifies how much more you've grown and outgrown a lot of things that people around you haven't had the opportunity to outgrow themselves. So this is a big stepping stone to understand like just how intelligent and like powerful you are. And for a lot of you, I'm hearing like how important you are. So like take with that what you will. But yes, you are important because like you're living your life for you. So you should be important to yourself. And then with the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, I feel like some of you are just feeling like this is taking forever and it's not really doing anything or going anywhere or bearing any like real fruit. Because Knights are all about like movement. And what I'm getting from the Knight being in reverse is that like there isn't a lot of movement. And the Pentacles being like the most worldly of all the suits, I feel like you feel like you're not making any progress in the physical world. Like you're just going through like those cycles. And I think one thing that's important for you to remember here, being over like the zebra card with the empowered energy, is just that it doesn't matter how long it's taken in the past or how many times you've been through this cycle. The best thing you can do for yourself moving forward is to just kind of define that and say, like, the past is the past. You know, that me that went through the cycle, like the first, the second, the third, the umpteenth time, like, they're not the me that is the me now, the one that's actually like, you know, pruning the root system out. And so part of being in the empowered energy is not worrying about the timelines or is it going to work this time? Because that's like just perpetuating the fears that you've been like growing to recognize and get rid of. So there's a reminder here of just like, don't worry about the timeline. Okay, fuck the timeline. We perceive things very like linearly, being in physical bodies. But a lot of time, especially if you're talking about like spiritual and emotional growth, like does not happen linearly. And so from our perceived end as like little physical beings in our consciousness, that can be really frustrating because sometimes things take forever and sometimes they don't. So just like let go of expectations with how long this will take and don't associate any of your expectations with what's happened in the past, because like that past you isn't relevant to like the present you that you're becoming. With the Eight of Cups and the Three of Cups over here, I feel like these have a lot to do with expressing like new energies that will actually kick off like a new cycle or beginning for you. And I think like an odd message I'm getting here is like 3 jumps to 8 pretty quickly. There's obviously like a lot of numbers in a cycle from 1 to 10. And 8 minus 3 is 5, which normally is completely irrelevant, but I'm hearing here that like that's important, that like the 5 of Cups is missing, because the 5 of Cups is about this emotional strife around you're perceiving a loss of something or like a lack of something that isn't necessarily lost to you or like out of your reach, and like that's gone. And I think that energy being gone is really important, because a lot of that energy can be seen over here, where previously when you repeat the cycle, you're like, I'm never going to get out of this. Like it just happens over and over and over. And it's just going to keep going. And like, what am I missing? And why can't I just like have what I want and be happy? And I feel like that energy is like lost on you when you continue forward. When you actually like grow from this here. So there's going to be like celebration, as seen with the 2 figures like cheering with the chalice in the middle of them. And there's going to be, with the 8 of Cups, I don't, this isn't a very like rudimentary meaning for it, but I'm hearing like there's going to be a stockpiling of good emotions. And what I'm really seeing here is like the bared fruits of like your mental labor here to clear this stuff out, is there isn't going to be like a hole or an empty spot where like these beliefs or like roots were that you pulled out. They're going to be replaced with like healthy affirmations. And so there's going to be this like different narrative that you give yourself in a really beautiful way that actually believes, as it should, that, you know, like you're valuable, you're worthy, you're like lovable and you're loved, and you can do a lot of good in this world, and a lot of good in this world comes to you. And it's just going to be like a much healthier mindset. And that is really encouraging and really great to look forward to. So that is what I have for this reading. I hope it helped. I hope you loved it and enjoyed it. I hope it was encouraging, if not enlightening. I believe in you, and I'm not worried at all that you're going to move through this for the final time and just be rid of whatever has been troubling you. So, with that, I want to thank you one more time for being here, for allowing me to do this reading for you. And if you would like to let me know what's going on, or show, you know, other pile ones some support, you can always leave a comment. If you want to keep things more private, but you still want to talk, feel free to do so. by emailing us, which our email is in the description below, along with our website in case you want to just like check us out or contact us by different means. We also, if you want, you can actually purchase the crystal for this pile as like a keepsake, or any of the crystals here if you're interested, just to have something like new and different. And if you would like to support us in a different way, we also have a Patreon, brand new, I know, exciting times, where we'll post like extra reading videos that the Patreon community gets to request and vote for. And in future videos, we will have like extensions on to the readings. So if you want extra informations and extra questions, we can post things, or we'll be posting things on the Patreon there as well. So thank you for being here, and I will see you next time in a brand new video. Hi, pile number 2. So, if you chose this pile based on the Shark Significator card, the Pink Gothic Tarot, or the White Howlite Tumble, then you have found your reading. So, before we get started, I want to mention, for those of you who may have skipped the intro, that the intention of this reading is to figure out what new beginning or beginnings you're starting, either this mid lunar cycle to mid lunar cycle, so full moon to full moon, or in just the next couple weeks or less. So I'll start by showing you some of your significator cards, and then we'll unpack them as we go. So first, we have, one more time, our beloved shark card, which is going to sit in the middle here. All right, next card we have coins. There are 3 of them. I don't know if that matters yet. You did get 3 of these cards, so maybe 3 is important. I don't know. And your first one says, "What does your soul say?" The second says, "You are light." Your last one says, "Find your sacred flow." And your final significator card is the Sorcerer. So the message I'm getting right off the bat with these 2 cards, the Shark and the Sorcerer, is there's some part of you, nobody else, that you're not happy with. And I don't know to what extent, because this is a extended reading, so I don't know to what extent you're recognizing that part of you, or if you feel like something's wrong, frustrating, off kilter, but like you haven't acknowledged that it's coming from self yet. But because I do these readings with the intention that they're going to be helpful for those that they resonate with, I'm assuming 2 things here: you're ready to hear it, and that you want to hear it because it's good for you to hear it. So, with that, I will move forward and actually unpack these 2 cards for you a little better. The Sorcerer specifically talks about the energies related to when there's like a harmful or damaging or like negative beliefs or ways of being that we're ready to acknowledge and let go of, because they've grown within us to a point where like it's not good for us. So things like greed, lust, a lot of things rooted in uh, like self-serving ways, so very like selfish energies, and um, fear of like depravity or loss are the two big ones. So the things or fears specifically that can come from that are things like envy, greed, um, like taking a jab at other people, where what we're agitated with them is something we see in ourselves that we realize is like off balance, but we aren't directing that focus inward to fix it. So it's the energy of when you take a jab at somebody else, you're jabbing at yourself. And the shark has the energy of not acknowledging something that could become dangerous that we're harboring within ourselves. So, more negative thought patterns that could be destructive. So, between these two cards, this could be things like uh, bigotry, these could be things like um, taking things from others, denying others certain things. Um, this could be like antagonizing or bullying. This could be like a fear of poverty, so you hoard things. Um, there's a lot of different energies, stuff like this, and fear rooted things can manifest themselves as. But what I'm seeing here, because your new beginning isn't, being some kind of miserly jerk that bites everybody. What I'm seeing here is that your new beginning is acknowledging like whatever these two cards represent, and in like a very mature, healthy, patient, graceful way, you're letting it go rather than letting it continue to flourish because you don't choose to look at it. And sometimes it can be painful to admit to ourselves that we have been a certain way or completed like certain actions or acted a certain way towards other people that may have been hurtful. But there's also like almost nothing more courageous, I would say. I'm going to vouch for that. There's almost nothing more courageous than acknowledging your own faults and like choosing to move past them. So I think this is like a really big step forward that your future self is proud of, and like your spirit guides are proud of, and like I'm proud of. And you can be proud of yourself right now too. And the thing is like negative emotions around needing to work on yourself. I think a lot of times they can be misunderstood through certain lenses. Like a lot of times we don't want to admit we've been doing something wrong or been thinking a terrible way or just generally like, being an asshole, is because it's embarrassing and it makes us feel generally horrible. And being apologetic can or remorseful can be like really hard. It's uncomfortable. No one wants to hear that like they're the bad guy or they're the villain. Or most people don't anyway, I'll say. I'm not going to speak for everybody. But those emotions are important and I think easier to understand than people give them credit for. Those emotions are there because if you didn't feel them, then there would be nothing to drive your change. You would feel like what you're doing is okay. And so it's actually like a really big step forward and a really, really like beautiful, awe inspiring thing to be able to say, like, I feel bad in retrospect or now seeing that I did that and I'm uncomfortable with that because that means I've grown as a person and I'm better than I used to be. So I'm better than I ever thought I could be or would be. And that's a point of pride for me, given that I actually like change my actions and become that better person. And so those uncomfortable feelings are like the first step. So the only move here that would make these feelings like more dangerous and cause more harm to you and potentially others around you is if you ignore it. Like the shark card talks about that. It talks about how um, this like energy hidden deep below, like in deep waters, if you want to say that, is only dangerous if like you don't acknowledge the power that it has and what it actually is. But once you do, you can resolve these issues through being honest with yourself in whatever way you need to be honest with yourself in. And I think that's where these other cards come into play here. I think What Does Your Soul Say kind of says it all. And I think it's cool. It's painted in these like cool blue tones, um, just like something that would be deep underwater. And so I think here asking this question of like, how do you authentically, genuinely, you as a person, feel about certain reactions you have to the people or things or situations that you're in, and like on a deeper level, are you proud of what you've been doing? Do you like feeling the way that you're feeling and having the reactions you have, or is some part of you like unsatisfied or like remorseful and ready to move on in whatever way that means for you? And I think that's where we kind of transition to the left here with these other cards, talking about like finding your sacred flow and you are the light. Like, no one can really lead you out of this darkness. They could try to, through the use of like some carrots and sticks, try to get you to go a different direction. Like, you could get negative feedback in the form of like being shunned from certain social circles, like other people standing up to you. Uh, it's extreme, but like if you break a bunch of laws, maybe you'll like, do some time. And that, or like the thought of like being arrested for whatever might deter you from certain things, or you know, it's kind of like how when your parents, some parents like, I know my sister struggled with this growing up. It was a lot of like, she was smart, but she didn't apply herself very well in high school. So, like, my my mom tried to tell her like, if you get good grades, I'll give you, um, like more money or like up your allowance, whatever it is, to try to like nudge her in the right direction. But there's something along that line where it's like there might be signals from other people to try to maybe help you out, but the only thing that's really gonna actually change you is determining like what you've been unsatisfied with and what's been like throwing you off and making you not feel great, and addressing that, like acknowledging that shark. And only you can do that. Like, everyone in the world can tell the horse where the water is, but it's the horse that drinks it. So that's sort of the energy here. But because you found this reading, I'm assuming there is a really big part of you that's ready to do that inner work and become a version of you that just feels lighter and happier and more, I'm hearing like more put together, but in a way of like just emotionally like being proud of yourself and like having the pride to like be yourself everywhere, um, and standing by your actions and the things that you've been saying to yourself and other people. Because I think there's a part of you that like is at unrest or like unease because it doesn't actually agree and support with what's been going on. And that's a pretty good signal for change. So there's something about like this coins card that I haven't talked about yet, but like there's something about like investments and collaborations with this card. I think that I'm also hearing like greed. I think that for some of you, there's a really big fear of like losing out in some way that could be financial or like otherwise. Stuff like slipping through your fingers or falling away. And I think that what you'll find as you do this growth is that if something falls away from you, it's because it resonated with like this unhealthy way of being or energy. And if it falls away from you as you become healthier, it means that like it no longer serves you as the happier, healthier version of you. So just like let it go and more will come back. It's kind of like, I know this is sort of a terrible example, but this is sort of the example of like let's say you have like 3 coins and you're clutching them to the point where like your knuckles are white because you don't want to let them go because you're worried. You're like, this is all I have. Like, this is my money. Like, no one's going to take this from me and da da da. And someone is trying to like open your hand to give you like a fat stack of $100 bills, like one of those like papered up reams they give you that are like $10,000 or something. And you just like won't open your hand because you don't want to drop like these three coins. And because you won't open your hand, they can't give you like the $10,000. There's something along the lines of that where it's like the universe can't directly tell you in a lot of ways, like exactly what it's going to give you, the way it's going to give you it, because it's very fluid and always changing depending on like what you do. But it's going to give you better things, and things are going to get better for you as you change in a way that you feel is to the better. And so if something falls away from you, even though it might be unexpected or painful, or you might grieve about it, even if it's not healthy because it's an attachment that you had, like you built up a relationship with it and now you're uncomfortable because it feels like you lost something. Just know that like if something does slip through your fingers, it's because something better was meant to replace it. So there's maybe for some of you a little exercise of trust here, and that's okay. So I think we'll pull some tarot cards, and as a general reading, I don't think asking like specifically what's going on with you is going to be a good idea. I'm going to let the cards just fall where they will. We'll see what messages or answers come through here. But I don't feel like this is a bad reading in any way. The energy is actually like really optimistic. It's sort of like excited. I don't know if it's like you or your spirit guides or like loved ones, but there's this general air of like excitement for like who you're going to become and like what you're going to more or less like turn into here that I'm hearing about. And I got a big clump of cards. I don't want to keep all of them, but what meant to fall out is the Eight of Cups and then the first card here, and we'll keep this one too. Okay. We'll see if we can get maybe just one more card. Let's see if we'll get one more card here. I'm hearing like one more. So we'll take this one. Okay. You have some big energies because we have a major arcana, two queens, and a king. Which is actually like really, really, really cool. And I think I want to. Somewhere in here there's a card I want. I don't know. We'll find it while I talk. But with multiple queens here, what I'm really looking at is like the energy of the suits they're in. So we have like the Queen of Pentacles over the Sorcerer, and the first thing I heard here was miserly. I think there's something going on with like, especially with the coins here. I think for a lot of you in this pile, just because you don't feel this way doesn't mean this isn't your pile, but for a lot of you in this pile, there's like a real, why am I hearing wrath right now? There's a real worry that like financially there's gonna be like some kind of upset that just like takes everything away from you. And just kind of like leaves you out to dry. These are the last two cards I'm taking, apparently. And I feel like this is the fear that like it's gonna happen at the hands of somebody else. Like there's gonna be some kind of like betrayal or expected like draining of like your funds or bank accounts, like from somebody else. There's like a mistrust of the community or specific like individuals or just one individual that you're in close contact with, and you have this weird relationship of like you tell both of each other, like you and this other individual or community or individuals, like you tell everyone involved like, oh, I trust you, and they tell you like, I trust you too, and all this, but there's like this air in you that just like doesn't actually like them, doesn't enjoy them, doesn't trust them. And I think for those of you that are going through that, there's like this aspect of honesty with the shark card of just like listen to yourself and that you don't trust them and like do something about it. I feel like there's things you could do and you're not doing it. And if that's the case, like just know like there's always an avenue to help yourself. So maybe you can subtly or very not subtly like start putting up barriers that are good for you, or start planning to like not be as involved in their lives or not having them be as involved in yours. Like if you need professional help in whatever way that is, like, you know, cops, lawyers, new bank accounts, whatever, like go do that. If you need to move, like, and that's really what's healthy for you, like the universe will find a way to help you out. Just know that like as you're exploring new avenues, if a lot of them close, it's for your greater good. Like rejection is a form of protection. So if you're like, oh, I'm just gonna move, and then like a place falls through and you don't get to, like, don't be frustrated or discouraged. Like continue working on acknowledging what you want to acknowledge and moving on in the healthiest way possible, and then just like continue exploring avenues while you keep your mind open. So that was kind of like a specific example for some of you, but I feel like for a lot of you there's this fear, this like looming dread related to money in some way. And I think for also a lot of you there's a real call to like trust that the money that's come to you in your life has come to you for a reason. It's because you deserve it. And no part of you is less deserving, even if you figured out there's parts of yourself that maybe like don't feel good or you're unhappy with. And as you continue to grow and be the best you can be and do the best that you can do, you're like just as valid and worthy and deserving of money, if not weirdly more so, because you'll be more in tune with the energy of abundance. And so I shouldn't say more deserving, but like you'll be more attractive to it. So whatever you're worried about, like money wise, like if you're worried that if you acknowledge or solve whatever problems you're working on is going to like totally ruin you financially or clean you out, just know that like it's not. And if there's a temporary period of time where it seems like a lot of money is lost to you, just know that like as you continue to work on yourself and trust the process, I guess is a good way to put it, like more will come to you. So it's kind of like that energy of like if you drop 3 coins, then you can have more. And there's a period of time where like there's nothing in your hand, but you trust that like that other money's actually going to come to you. So that's what I got from that. And I think we'll look at these 2 cards I keep shuffling. So we have the Page of Swords and we have the Ten of Swords, which is really interesting because the 10 is like a completion of a cycle, and the Page of Swords is more of this like new wide-eyed energy in the Suit of Swords. So I think that what we're looking at here, and because I was shuffling the cards, I think there's no good way to read them. Like if one energy comes before the other, I feel like they're up in the air and they're going to either both happen to you, like you're going to be aware of them at the same time, or you're going to like flip flop between them very quickly for a small period of time. And then I think the rest of this down here is going to happen because I'm holding it above everything else. It's just how I read cards. And so the Ten of Swords like it's not an easy energy. Like you feel very burdened, very tired. Like you're at the end of a path, but like man, did that path take it out of you. It's like when you finish a hike that's like 10 miles longer than you thought it was gonna be. Like you did it, and you might be happy you did it, but like you're also tired. I think you're gonna be feeling a lot of that energy, but on a mental level. And for some of you, an emotional level, like harboring something that's been bothering you for a long time, like it can take a lot out of you. And to actually sit down and unpack what it is, why it is, what you've chosen to do or not do, or say or not say because of it, it's gonna feel like pretty draining and taxing. And maybe there's a lot of like mental gymnastics you're gonna have to unpack and settle down and like unweave to figure out what's been going on. I hear there might be like a lot of lies to like unstring together, like kind of follow like a trail of like this little like woven web of lies for some of you. And I don't think you've been necessarily like, I don't think a lot of you have been lying to yourself. There's just this idea of like the reason you have these beliefs is because of maybe like a lot of false assumptions about how the world operates around you, and you're ready to let them go. Or maybe you realize how a lot of other people around you have been pretty gross and like not great, and they've been telling you a lot of stuff that isn't true if they actually are like harmful people that are like plotting against you in some way. So there's just going to be like a lot of unpacking and a lot of like internal work, which is really draining, but it's like it's for a good reason and it's in a good way, and it's not always going to be this tiring because this is like the last step in the cycle. So when you start like a fresh cycle, you can just like start fresh and have like more or less a second wind and feel better. And I think that's what the Page of Swords is kind of about. is like having this fresh new outlook on what's going on with whatever you've been going through and choose to like focus on moving forward. So there's a real energy of like, yes, you're gonna address whatever thing or things, thoughts or thoughts, like dark beliefs or emotions, whatever it is, have been bothering you, and you're gonna like overcome them in a way that puts you in a position to where you can see the world differently enough to be able to navigate it differently, is what I'm hearing. And that allows you to, if there are residual problems after you do this work, like solve them incredibly quickly and then just move on and like not have a problem with any of this. And I think that with like the Eight of Cups here, there's kind of a little bit on an emotional level, like a fruits of your labor sort of thing. Like you're gonna feel relieved. You're gonna feel like the work you did, even though it made you really tired, is worth it. You're gonna feel like even though maybe there was blood in the water, like no shark attacks actually happened. Not that like you dodged a bullet, but like you quelled the beast before it got out of hand, if that makes sense. Like this is, you solved the problem before a breaking point happened and things got like really bad, is what I'm seeing for some of you. And for others of you, this card simply just symbolizes you go from feeling upset about something and having aspects of yourself that like made you not feel good and really uncomfortable and upset, to like having more of this like peace internally and like emotional freedom to like just enjoy things and experience life and be happy. And like if something bad happens, because life always has up and downs, the downs aren't going to feel like apocalyptic, or incredibly triggering, um, or like fear inducing like they did before. They're just going to be something that like you move through as you do, and then you go back to feeling good about your choices and your life and being happy, which is a much more worthwhile way to enjoy life. So, um, in my opinion, at least. So let me tell you how to live. And then with the Lovers card, the Lovers is all about like choices, and being the major arcana that it is, I feel like big choices are going to be made, um, as you ask yourself like, what's really important? How do I really want to live my life and behave? What beliefs do I really want to take with me moving forward? And so I feel like some of you are going to start letting go of this idea of maybe that like the world is against you, and everyone in it is like just out to suck you dry and move on. Maybe there will be choices between like hanging out with really toxic people and being alone for a little bit and choosing yourself, over a weird comfort of having other people to talk to. Like maybe being alone and clearing stuff out so you can find new friends that are good for you. It's like a nice way to go. Or maybe you're going to be choosing, there's a lot of like choosing yourself and your happiness over like either serving other people or like serving ideals that were given to you by other people. So serving other people, I think, is a little self-explanatory, like stretching yourself way thinner than you need to just so that they don't get like angry or mad, sort of like that people pleasing stuff, or feeling like they're gonna betray you or like blackmail you in some way, even though that's kind of extreme. But extreme things can happen, so credit where credit's due, I suppose. Um, and then for serving beliefs, maybe that could be a little more nebulous, but maybe there's this belief of like, all my money's gonna go away and I'm not gonna know when or why or like what for or how. And there's no real way to prep for something that like vague. um, and so I think that somewhere in there, for this example, you would just get to a point where like you refute that fear and you trust that like your money came to you for a reason because you deserve it and you attracted it. Like you earned it, it's yours. And so it only, it only leaves when you spend it, um, or so that more can take its place. And like obviously, physical world logistics, like there's ways to be responsible. Um, so exercise that as you will, but there's just also this trust that like things that we don't perceive or understand throughout the world are like occurring in our favor, and just choosing to subscribe to that belief instead like just feels like a big sigh of relief. And it might be hard to like consistently believe it at first, but baby steps, eventually you get there and then you kind of feel better. Or like maybe you choose not to believe that everyone's out for like your blood and to slit your throat. And because you believe that, even though maybe you're cautious meeting new people, you meet people that are like just good to be around. Like they're just good people, they're neighborly or act like family, and they help you out when you're in a tough time, and like you return the favor when you can, and you guys like hang out and have fun, and that's it. Like there's no weird fear or like deep-seated mistrust because you just found someone who's actually good. um so that's like the energy overall. Apply that to yourself like however you see fit, if it resonates. And then I see here that like with the Queen of Pentacles also, there's this replacement of fear that like money's going to abandon you with like a mastery of being able to like find abundance in your situation. So you're going to go from like being afraid that you're not going to have what you want in the physical world, whether that means like food, money, friends, whatever it is, a safe place to be, to actually having that thing that you were afraid like you were going to lose or was just never going to come to you. And that's because the energy work that you're doing now to get over these fears puts you in an energy to be able to see and navigate towards and manifest what you want. And I think that with the King and the Queen of Wands here, so the Wands is the suit that represents a lot of like our intellect, our thought processes. And the King and Queens are like the two masters of that. One represents, the masculine, one represents the feminine energy. You can be whatever like sex, gender association you want for these to apply to you. Because it's not tied to like physical traits. These are like energetic masculine and feminines. But by having both of them show up here, it shows that you're kind of like the true master of your thoughts. You have the ability to like act on them and be proactive with them, as well as like reflect on them and refine them and choose which thoughts are worth pursuing and which thoughts you're okay with just letting go of. And that energy is really what drives you forward to reach this newfound place of like peace, comfort, safety, tranquility, content. And I think that a lot of that is based on your ability to go within here and really like look at what's uncomfortable for you and what you're no longer happy with. And even if it's like uncomfortable or embarrassing or like remorseful, to acknowledge that you've been feeling that way or doing certain things or saying certain things and moving past it, you'll feel better. So I would like to thank you one more time for allowing me to be your reader. on such a cool topic, and I hear from like your spirit guides and your past self and your future self that like you're really proud of yourself for overcoming all this. And this is like a really courageous thing to do. So, like, if you'll accept it, I'm proud of you too. And I wish you nothing but um, all the best, like luck, love, and joy as you move forward. I have no idea what you're doing, but I can't wait for you to do it because it's just going to be so cool and you're going to feel so awesome afterwards. So if you want to let me know or support other Pile 2s, you can always leave a comment. If you want to keep things more private, but you still want to talk to me, because I love spilling that tea, you can email us. Our email is in the video description. And if you if you want to see more beyond this, we now have a Patreon where we're gonna upload extra videos every month, extra readings, things like that, where the community gets to vote on what topics we talk about and do like request videos. So the other thing you can do to support us is, if you feel like donating, because we're not taking donations, you can go to our website in the video description as well, at lunaticlick.com. And if you want, you can like purchase different crystals from us, including the little white howlite that was for this reading, if this reading meant a lot to you and you want a memento. So that's all I have for you. And, just thank you for being here and being the wonderful person that you are. And I will catch you next time in a brand new reading. Welcome, pile number 3, to your reading. So if you selected this reading based on the New Chapter Tarot, the Frog Significator card, or the beautiful Moss Agate Crescent Moon, then this is your reading. You've come to the right place. I'll start by saying thank you for allowing me to do your reading today. And for those of you who skipped the introduction, this reading is asking like what new beginning or beginnings are happening either now from full moon to full moon, or just in the next like couple weeks or so. So with that, we will start by looking at your significator cards, and then we'll unpack them as we go. So we have, first off, what you've already seen, the frog, which will be front and center. And then we have the hourglass card here. So I think we'll put it on this side. There we go. We have Soul on Fire. And then we have 2 of these large oracle cards for you. The first one is the Hummingbird, which we'll put here. And your second one is Flow, which we'll put on the right. I think we'll start this reading with the Hummingbird and the Flow card, so the 2 big ones. And they both have like a similar feel to them. So the Flow card represents the energy of allowing things like emotions, intent, creation, inspiration, intuition, those things to like flow through you, and taking the path of least resistance to achieve outcomes that are in your favor. So that can be like completing a goal, or just being pleasantly surprised when things that you've been wanting to receive find their way to you effortlessly. It's a lot of the energy of you don't have to teach water how to flow downhill. a river just does that. But if you remove some of the large rocks and obstructions that are in the way, the river can flow more easily. So this is more about like tuning yourself to take a path of least resistance that is still on a trajectory that follows like your intuition and is aligned with what you want. It's not about like giving up because effort was needed. It's about being intuitive and open to receiving different ways of going with where you want to go. And that kind of leads us into the hummingbird, which is a card talking about following your intuition, following like what drives you, pursuing your passions and your goals, as well as like defending yourself in those goals by mostly by setting up like healthy boundaries, but perhaps in other ways if needed. This is a general reading, so I can't tell you for sure one way or the other. And I just feel like for some of you, there's a lot going on here that maybe you're not seeing. And it's not like you're blind to it, like you haven't seen it or you can't see it. It's like you saw it, but you saw it through a lens that it didn't let you appreciate like the actual magnitude or substance of what it was. It's kind of like if you look through your glasses, right? Things might become more in focus if you need them. And then if you look through sunglasses, things will be tinted a different color. But there's this energy of those weird like glass bricks with the wavy exteriors they used in like the 80s, at least in America, as those like dividers between rooms. So you can kind of see loosely like shadows and blebs of figures moving past on the other side, but like you can make out no details about them for privacy and whatnot. It's kind of like that. It's like you can see something, but you have no idea like what it is or what it's doing or where it's going, really. Um, so there's a lot of like guesses and assumptions that are made to like make sense of what you're seeing on the other side of like these like 2 to 3 inches of just like warped glass where no details are able to be like seen. That's sort of the energy I'm getting here, is like you're ready for a new beginning where you're not looking through glass bricks like that. You're just seeing things without this very distortive, warping lens to the point where I'm not sure you can call it a lens. And I think that's where these other 3 cards come in. What I'm seeing with the frog card here is that those bricks are there, like that distortion or failure to like actually make out what objects truly are or what like the way situations actually are, is because I think you're trying to do it all. And I don't think that's a bad thing, like being driven, being ambitious, uh, taking really big bites of a food you love is fine, but like sometimes you can choke on it. And when you choke on it, like just spit it out. Like lessen the load. Like when you get tired, take off the backpack and sit down for a second. And I think that like with the frog here, this energy of this card in this deck is a reminder that like just because you're strong or you can do a lot or you're capable doesn't mean that like you don't have moments where you don't need to like rest and rejuvenate. So there's a lot of like uh energies around nourishing yourself in a healthy way, um cleansing yourself, like resting if you need it. For some of you, I'm hearing retiring. I don't, if that's important, take that as you will. And I think that for a lot of you, you've been carrying a really heavy load for a really long time. And I think it's been a load that you're going to realize like isn't actually necessary for you to carry anymore. Maybe it was in the past, maybe you just thought it was and it never really was. You know, it's going to be different for all of you out there. But there is this idea of like, there's just something wrong with how much you've been asking yourself to do, and you didn't really notice that there was anything wrong with it until you realize like how easy the journey could have been, and you didn't think to realize how easy the journey could have been until you got really fucking tired of that journey. And that's not a bad thing. It just means like you're evolving and changing for the better. And so you're going to be like moving a lot of the obstructions so it's easier to just flow. And a lot of the ways you're going to be moving those obstructions is by just like following and tapping into your callings and your intuition and what you actually want to do. Because the thing is like, this is your life and you're here to live your life for you. And there might be other like factors or individuals that are incredibly important to you, but at the end of the day, like you came to this world to live your life for you. And I think that one of the things you're like realizing or remembering is just that. And there's going to be a way for you to like continue to take care of what's important to you and answer responsibilities that like you still feel the need to like answer, um and not like neglect anything important, but you're going to do so in a way to where like you're going to have time to nourish yourself and take care of yourself and rest, because I feel like that's something that like right now you probably don't feel like you have the luxury of actually like taking care of yourself the way that you need right now, or the way that you're taking care of like other people. And I think that's what the hourglass is here, is like I get like a feeling of like anxiety and like pressure when I look at this. Like you feel like there's not enough time for you to do what you know you actually need, which is like also taking care of yourself. Like put, as they say on the airplanes, you know, you put your oxygen mask on and then you put on the other people's. And I feel like right now you've kind of like started at the front of the plane and you just ran through it putting everyone's masks on. And then you started to not feel so great because like you're not getting any of that oxygen, and you're like, oh, but you know, I'm only like halfway through the plane, I gotta put on everyone else's. And it's like, it's just you don't need to. Put your own mask on, everything else will get easier. Like take care of yourself, it'll be way easier to flow. You're gonna go in the direction you need to with a lot less effort. um, and I think that's part of what's going on here with the soul on fire card. I do get a sense that like some part of you has like awakened. I don't know if it's through like frustration, like you're malnourished to the point where you're in close to an energy of like rebelling against your circumstances just to take care of yourself as like a survival thing. Um, or if like a passion recently got ignited, that's clarifying what direction you really want to step into for a new phase of your life. Um, it could be split 50-50 for this pile or, whatnot. So take that as you will. But there's some kind of like awakening in terms of a realization of like, not I can't do this anymore, but just like I'm not going to do this anymore. Like I don't want to tolerate it because I'm not happy with how hard my life is. And then on an intuitive level, you feel that way because you understand like your life doesn't have to be that hard with the flow card. And I think that like that rebellious energy is like ignited because some part of you recognized that life doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this hard. And that like frustration or rebellion or anger that you're feeling is not a bad thing here. Like anything can be bad if you wield it in a dangerous way. Like a knife can mess somebody up and like put them in the hospital or worse, or you can chop carrots with it, Like anger doesn't have to be like a destructive force. It can be really empowering and inspire you to get done what you need to get done. And that's kind of the level of like anger I'm feeling here, is it's just a powerful motivator to get you to actually say like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like I'm gonna take care of myself and feel way better, still do everything I need to do, still answer responsibilities I need to answer, but like I'm also gonna steer my life in the direction I want to. So with that said, I think we'll use the tarot cards to just see if there's more information on like what that direction looks or feels like energetically. Because this is a general reading, we can't get like, the nitty gritty details because everyone's specific details are different. But we can still understand a little bit more about like how you're gonna get there, how it's gonna feel, what's going on. So we'll see what we get. One thing that I'm hearing while I'm shuffling is no questions. And I think for some of you, you just already kind of know. Like enough is enough and you know what you want to do and what boundaries you maybe want to put up and how you want to move through this already. So this video is more of like just meant as like empowerment and validation for those of you that are like that. Hello. And I think for some of you, there's almost like this embarrassment of like, how did I let it get so bad? And like I'm frustrated and angry, but like I don't want to talk to anyone about it because it's embarrassing. It's almost like the energy of, and I'm not saying this is you, this is an example, just to get the vibe across. But it's like when mothers give their all to like their kids, like that story of like there's a mom raising 3 kids on her own by herself, working very hard or multiple hard jobs to do so. And, eventually she has an easier time because the kids like move out, they grow up, they become adults to some extent or another, like more independent. And then the mom's like embarrassed because she spent so much time taking care of their kids that like she just kind of let herself go. And like she's frustrated about it and she wants to help, like maybe she wants to go to the gym and buy new clothes and all that, but she's like embarrassed to go to the gym because sometimes going to the gym when you're not like ripped is scary, especially if it's like a new gym and you're worried about that kind of thing. Because that's just like a real human fear a lot of us have. There's kind of that energy of like you don't regret what you did, but it's like you realize later, like you could have maybe done something else for yourself. Like maybe you could have asked the kids to like help out around the house more so you didn't have to do chores as much, or you could have asked like the older kids, like, you drive your brothers around, because like I just need some help here and I gave you a car. um, Something like that, where it's like later you're like, I didn't have to take on that much of a burden, but I did for reasons that like I'm proud of, but I don't like the results. So that's where we're at. And I split the deck a couple times, which usually means there's a card that I want. So we have the Two of Discs, which is Pentacles, and then we have the Nine of Wands in reverse, which we will also take. And this big wad of cards that came out in the middle. Okay, there's only three. We can handle that. So we have the Two of Wands. So we have another two. We have the Moon. And we also have the Ten of Cups in reverse. And over here, we have the Queen of Wands and the Knight of Discs in reverse. I should let you know, reversals aren't a bad thing. There's a lot of them here, but every deck has like its own personality. And this tarot card deck really likes to talk in reverse. it's just some of the guides that claimed this deck that like to talk through me, they like to talk upside down. So that's what they do. But don't be upset about it. So the first thing I'm noticing is the Ten of Cups in reverse being over the hourglass, but like facing towards the frog. So the Ten of Cups is about like emotional fulfillment on like the highest level. Usually it's associated with like bliss. Um, it's like the feeling you would have if like your fairy tale came true. It's like the best emotional fulfilling. So like what I'm really saying with this is that as long as you're worried about time, like, I don't have enough time for myself. What if there's not enough time to like make the change, make this happen? Something along those lines. As long as you're worried about time, like you're not going to be in a position where you can actually feel emotionally like satisfied and relaxed, calm, tranquil, okay. Like there's this anxiety that comes inherently with this worry of time. And I think what you'll find is that as you find ways following your intuition to like make your path easier and do what you want to do and actually like take care of yourself, and that worry of do I have enough time starts to go away, like you'll start to feel a lot better. But this blockage of feeling like there's a lack of time on your side, like a time deficit, is linked to you not being too able to like emotionally feel unburdened or like relieved. So one thing you're going to be letting go of is this feeling of like you don't have enough time. Like that's a big thing that you're fixing here. And I feel like that's really good, really exciting news. Other things I want to look at. So we have the moon and then we have the Two of Wands here. And the moon is kind of symbolizing this aspect of self that's been like hidden for a while. And I think that ties to like the Soul on Fire card where there's this like awakening. I think some of you in this pile have been burying like feelings, not even feelings, you've been burying your own needs to just like get stuff done in time because you're overburdened and undernurtured. And so I think one thing that's going to happen, like as you start to deburden yourself, take care of yourself, find ways to like still do what you need to do or want to do, but like in a healthier life balance. A lot of these like needs or wants that you have for how you take care of yourself, they're gonna come up to the surface really fast, and like it might hit you really hard. Like this might be a really big emotional moment where you think like, you know, I really needed this. I can't believe like I didn't do this for myself for so long, or like I handled all this for so long. And there's this reminder of like moving forward, remember that, so that you don't fall into a similar cycle again. But also like just like don't beat yourself up over it, because what you've accomplished so far, like you should be proud of, and you did it for like great reasons, and now you've grown even more because you recognized that like yourself comes first in your life, because if you're not taking care of yourself, like you don't have the capacity to do or take care of anything else, um in the way that like you ultimately really want to and are trying to, because this is like a very giving energy, you know. You're a giving wonderful person basically. um and you deserve to take care of yourself, and your big new start here is actually doing that, which is very exciting. So with the twos here, the two of wands and the two of pentacles, I know they call it discs, pentacles, I see a lot with like choices. Twos have a lot to do with choices, in general, but I'm kind of seeing that like you're picking what to pursue and what to spend your time on, and like what to invest in moving forward, because the two of pentacles is a choice of like, do I plant this seed or that seed, and either seed you plant is going to like turn into some kind of plant that bears fruit later, essentially, for like the metaphor. So you're just kind of picking like, what am I going to invest in now that's going to like make me happy and become a larger part of my life later. And I feel like what you're doing here with this card is you're picking between extra burdens that you don't need to take on, because you're not responsible for literally everything and everybody in every way possible, and picking between like nurturing yourself so that you can blossom. And so there are certain times in the future where you're going to put up healthy boundaries with the hummingbird and just say like, you know what, that's not something I can do right now, and I'm going to choose to make sure that I'm taken care of, and I don't go back to a place where like I'm feeling bad and I'm not doing what I need to do to make sure that like I'm healthy and happy and have a very nice life. And I think with the two of wands, there's on an emotional level this start of like a new path of choices mentally, where you're kind of picking and choosing like what you feel responsible for, and what you feel like you have to do, and what you feel like you can delegate or very easily just say like, that's not my responsibility. Like even if it sucks it's happening, like it's not my job to fix it, because like I don't need to fix everything. Sometimes there's things in the world that just have ways of working out that don't go through the conduit of you. And I think that like you're realizing that in a very like healthy, mature way that gives you a lot of credit, um, for like what you're able to accomplish, but also that you deserve to take care of yourself too. Like being a nurturing individual, some of that nurturing should go towards you. And I think that's a lot of what this like new start is. So with the last three cards over here, we have the Nine of Wands, the Knight of Pentacles or discs, and then we have the Queen of Wands here. And these are all over the flow card. And I think that before, where you're ability to see things for what they were, not looking through like, the big glass bricks, the wall divider of distortion, but like actually seeing what things are to like judge them appropriately and assess the situations as like, do I need to be responsible for this or not? Do I need to help with this or not? Like, is it okay if I don't do this or not? I feel like a warped view of what things were led to like a warped understanding of you felt responsible for like a lot more aspects of your life that like didn't need to be specifically like handled or catered to by you and only you. And I think that like with the flow card here, you're going to see that stagnation of flow because you were trying to carry so much stuff is going to go away, just because like you're going to look at things differently. With like the Two of Wands here, you're going to look at things differently and just say like, I don't actually need to like take on that responsibility. There are other people that can handle that. And like, I'm not going to pick up another rock because my arms are already full and it's heavy. Like you're kind of reevaluating like the importance and like desperation of what really needs to get done when. Like there's almost this energy of more playfulness because like you're not going to take things as seriously to the point where like you feel the need to spring up and address like every issue that could potentially be solved. Like there are certain things where you're like, it's really not my problem, and the world will have its own way of working that out. And I feel like when you solve that stagnation, you're going to see a progression like in your physical world where certain like physical burdens or problems start to like just kind of drift away from you in like a very calm fashion. Um, and it's just going to be nice to see certain burdens and issues like take themselves out of the picture because you're just flowing in a different direction now. Like you don't resonate with holding on to and taking care of all of this stuff anymore. So for example, if we go back to like the mother who raised like the three kids, right? Like maybe when you start to put up healthy boundaries, one of the positive changes that happens is the kids recognize those healthy boundaries. And so they kind of learn, instead of coming up to you and like demanding or requesting attention or like service or catering all the time, they'll recognize like for the first hour you get home from work, everyone leaves you alone and just lets you like decompress, enjoy what you want to, eat some food, and they don't bombard you immediately when you get home with like, me and my brother were fighting and this happened and I need help with this and I want to go here and we need to go like shopping for XYZ and you should drive me to a friend's house. Like they all just know, like they give you your space and then they can come talk to you about stuff in a little bit. Not well, like you're taking your shoes off, like there's just this energy of your surroundings will kind of like recognize what's going on and it'll just like flow away from you. Like if you're the person that constantly springs to helping with everything, eventually people learn that and they just go to you because they're like, oh, they'll do it. Like if you're that one employee at work who like just does everything and you do it better than everybody else because you're like the person in your workforce that actually has like pride in their work, and for whatever reason all these other people around you don't, like the boss learns, we'll just always ask this person to do everything. And it's not like you're going to start like, slacking off and not doing a good job if you want to do a good job, but maybe there's just a way where you'll start to tell them like, I can't because I'm busy. because you always give me everything to do and I haven't done the things you've asked of me yet. So, like, you can give that to me, but it's going to take a while because I'm doing these other things first instead of just like responding with like yes and then being stressed out and frustrated over it and like, you know, venting about it later and like doing a bunch of overtime. So, that's more of the energy I'm seeing here is like your surroundings will recognize your new energy and like slowly or not it'll make changes to just like burden you less because you don't resonate with that anymore. So I think this is like a really exciting, really positive, super cool, empowering change, and I'm really happy to see it. So if you would like to support this channel, let me know what's going on. You can always leave a comment, or you can leave a comment to just support other pile threes. If you want to let me know what's going on, but you want to keep things more private, you can always email us. Our email is in the video description below. And if you would like to support this channel in other ways, because right now we're not taking donations, you could sign up for a Patreon where we post extra videos and we do tarot card readings, or we're going to start doing tarot card readings where like the community actually votes on what topics we do. We'll have extensions on some of our future tarot card readings, stuff like that. You can also visit our website, lunaticclick.com, and you can pick up some nice energy cleanse crystals if you want, including the crystals that are for each of the piles. So if you want like a cute little memento, because this pile meant something to you, this specific moon will be on sale. So I want to thank you one more time for being the super loving, awesome, nurturing person that you are, and allowing me the honor of doing your reading for you. And I will see you next time in a brand new reading.